Welcome to WorkSpeak, business English for confident professionals. Imagine you're in a project meeting. Your team is discussing the best way to launch an important client project. Everyone is contributing ideas. Then someone says something you completely disagree with. What would you say? Many English learners answer with,
I don't agree.
or even worse.
You're wrong.
The problem isn't having a different opinion. The problem is how that opinion is communicated. Let's watch what happens inside a meeting at WorkSpeak Solutions. I think we should launch the new feature next Monday.
No, that's a bad idea.
Why?
Because we're not ready.
I thought we already finished testing.
Well, we're still missing a few things.
Maybe we should slow down for a second.
This discussion is getting a little tense. Did you notice what happened? Sophia may actually have a good point. Maybe the team really isn't ready. But the conversation suddenly became uncomfortable. Why? Because disagreement isn't only about the message. It's also about the delivery. Professional teams disagree every day. Great teams simply know how to do it respectfully. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to express a different opinion without creating conflict. In today's lesson, you'll discover a simple communication pattern that professionals use whenever they disagree during meetings. Instead of sounding negative or argumentative, you'll learn how to acknowledge another person's idea, introduce your own opinion politely, explain your reasoning clearly, suggest a better alternative, and keep the conversation collaborative. This isn't about avoiding disagreement. Healthy disagreement often leads to better decisions. The goal is to make sure your ideas are heard while maintaining trust and respect with your colleagues. As we move through today's lesson, pay attention not only to the words people use, but also to the order they use them. That order makes all the difference. Let's return to the meeting. This time, don't focus on whether Alex or Sophia is right. Instead, observe how the conversation changes when the communication style changes. The team at WorkSpeak Solutions is discussing the launch schedule for a new client project. Alex believes the product is ready. Sophia has concerns about releasing it too early. Both want the project to succeed. Neither person is trying to win an argument. Their shared goal is to make the best business decision. Listen carefully. What changes when Sophia chooses a more professional way to disagree? I think we should launch the new feature next Monday.
I see your point, Alex. However, I'm not sure next Monday gives us enough time to finish the final testing.
That's a fair concern. What are we still waiting for?
We still need feedback from 2 key clients. If we wait until Wednesday, we'll have more reliable information.
That sounds reasonable. Let's compare both timelines before making a final decision.
Notice something important. The disagreement didn't disappear. Sophia still had a different opinion, but now the discussion feels calmer, more professional, and much easier for everyone to join. That's exactly what effective business communication looks like. Let's compare the 2 conversations. In the first version, Sophia disagreed immediately. Her message may have been correct, but her approach created tension. In the second version, she followed a different sequence. First, she acknowledged Alex's idea. Then, she introduced her own opinion carefully. Next, she explained her reason. Finally, she suggested an alternative that helped move the discussion forward. Can you see the pattern? Professional disagreement isn't random. It follows a predictable communication structure. Instead of thinking, how do I tell someone they're wrong? Try asking yourself, how can I help the team make a better decision while respecting everyone's ideas? That's the mindset professionals bring into meetings. Before we learn today's expressions, see if you can identify the 5 communication steps. What came first? Exactly. Respect came before disagreement. That's the foundation of today's lesson. Now let's build the language that supports this communication sequence. We'll learn 5 categories of expressions that professionals use in meetings. 1. Soft opening. A respectful disagreement usually begins by recognizing the other person's contribution. Instead of responding immediately with your own opinion, acknowledge what you've heard. Listen to these examples. I see your point. That's a good suggestion. I understand where you're coming from. These expressions don't mean you agree. They simply show respect. That's why they create a positive tone. 2. Soft disagreement. Now it's time to introduce a different viewpoint. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," or "I don't agree," try these professional alternatives. "However, I'm not sure that's the best option. I have a slightly different perspective. I'm not convinced that's the right approach." Notice how these expressions soften the disagreement without hiding your opinion. 3. Giving reasons. A professional opinion always includes a reason. Instead of stopping after your disagreement, explain your thinking. For example, "I'm not sure that's the best option because we still need client feedback." Or, "I think waiting another 2 days would reduce the risk." Reasons make your ideas more credible. Without them, disagreement can sound emotional instead of logical. 4. Suggesting alternatives. Don't stop with the problem. Offer a solution. Try expressions like, "What if we waited until Wednesday? Perhaps we could test it with a smaller group first." Another option might be to launch in phases. Professionals don't simply criticize, they help move the discussion forward. 5. Collaborative closing. Finally, invite the team back into the conversation. You might say, "What do you think? How does that sound to everyone? Would that work for the team?" Disagreement shouldn't end the discussion. It should encourage better collaboration. When you combine these 5 steps, your ideas become much easier for others to accept. Let's watch another meeting at WorkSpeak Solutions.
This time, pay attention to the communication sequence instead of individual expressions.
I recommend launching the new marketing campaign this Friday.
I see your point, David. However, I'm not completely convinced we're ready yet.
Really, what's your biggest concern?
I think we still need more customer feedback before we launch. If we wait until next week, we'll have much stronger data.
That makes sense. Would delaying the launch affect our client deadline?
I don't think so. We still have enough time if we finalize everything on Monday.
That's a fair point. Perhaps delaying the launch is the safer option.
It sounds like we're moving toward a better decision. Let's review the updated timeline together.
Notice how nobody felt attacked. Everyone contributed. Different opinions were welcomed, and the meeting moved toward a better solution. Not because everyone agreed immediately, but because they disagreed professionally. Let's break down what Lisa did so well. She didn't begin with disagreement. She began with respect. She said,
I see your point.
That simple sentence acknowledged David's contribution and kept the conversation positive. Next, she introduced a different opinion gently. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," she said,
However, I'm not completely convinced we're ready yet.
Then she supported her opinion with a clear business reason. She explained that the team still needed more customer feedback. After identifying the concern, she didn't stop there. She offered a practical alternative, waiting until next week. Finally, the conversation stayed collaborative because everyone was invited to continue discussing the decision. Remember this communication sequence: acknowledge, soften, explain, suggest, invite. That's the structure you'll use whenever you need to disagree professionally. Now let's practice saying these expressions naturally. Listen first. I see your point. Pause. Now repeat after me. I see your point. Excellent. Next one. However, I'm not completely convinced. Listen again. Notice how the stress falls on however, completely, and convinced. Now repeat. Very good. One more. What if we waited until Wednesday? Listen. Repeat. Now say all three expressions together with a calm, confident voice. Remember, respectful disagreement isn't only about choosing the right words. Your tone also communicates professionalism. Speaking practice. It's your turn. I'll give you a direct response. Your job is to transform it into professional business English. Practice 1. You hear, "You're wrong." Replace it with a respectful opening. One possible answer is, "I see your point. However, I have a slightly different perspective." Practice 2. You hear, "I don't agree." Improve it by adding a reason. Example. I'm not sure that's the best approach because we still need more customer feedback. Practice 3. Now build a complete response. Someone says, "Let's launch the project tomorrow." Respond using today's communication sequence. Remember to acknowledge the idea, disagree politely, explain your reason, suggest an alternative, invite collaboration. Here's one possible answer. I see your point, and launching early would help us move faster. However, I'm not sure tomorrow is the best option, because we're still waiting for the final test results. What if we launched on Monday instead? What do you think? Excellent. Notice how the disagreement sounds constructive instead of confrontational. The goal isn't to win the argument. The goal is to help the team make the best decision. Reflection. Before we finish today's lesson, take a moment to reflect on your own communication. Think about your most recent meeting. When you disagreed with someone, how did you respond? Ask yourself these 5 questions. Did I acknowledge the other person's opinion before sharing my own? Did I disagree politely instead of sounding negative? Did I explain the reason behind my opinion? Did I suggest a helpful alternative instead of only pointing out a problem? Did I invite the team to continue the discussion? If you answered no to any of these questions, don't worry. Respectful disagreement is a professional communication skill. Like any skill, it becomes more natural with practice. The next time you find yourself in a meeting, focus on following the communication sequence instead of trying to find the perfect sentence. When respect comes first, productive discussion becomes much easier. Challenge. Here's your Work-Speak challenge. In your next workplace meeting, look for one opportunity to express a different opinion. When that moment comes, don't begin with disagreement. Instead, use today's communication framework. Start by acknowledging the other person's idea. Then, introduce your opinion respectfully. Explain your reasoning. Suggest an alternative. Finally, invite the team to respond. After the meeting, ask yourself one question. Did my communication help the discussion move forward? That's how real improvement happens, one conversation at a time. Let's review today's key message. Disagreeing isn't a problem. In fact, healthy disagreement often leads to stronger ideas and better business decisions. What matters is how you communicate your different opinion. Remember today's 3 key takeaways. First, show respect before expressing disagreement. A simple acknowledgement creates a positive tone and shows professionalism. Second, support your opinion with clear reasoning. People are much more likely to consider your idea when they understand the logic behind it. Third, keep the discussion collaborative. Instead of trying to win an argument, help the team find the best solution together. Whenever you're unsure what to say, remember today's communication sequence. Acknowledge, soften, disagree, explain, suggest, invite. This simple framework will help you communicate with confidence in meetings, project discussions, and everyday workplace conversations. Every respectful disagreement strengthens your professional communication skills, and that's an important step toward becoming a more effective leader. You've learned how to disagree professionally while maintaining positive working relationships. But what happens when the conversation is moving so quickly that you need to speak before someone finishes? Interrupting can easily sound rude if it's done the wrong way. In the next Work-Speak lesson, Interrupting Politely, you'll learn how to enter an active discussion naturally, respectfully, and confidently, without disrupting the flow of the meeting. You'll discover the expressions professionals use to interrupt, clarify, and contribute while keeping every conversation productive. See you in the next lesson. Before you leave, here's one final thought. The strongest professionals aren't the ones who always agree. They're the ones who can express a different opinion while making everyone feel respected. Every meeting gives you an opportunity to practice that skill. The next time you disagree, remember, don't focus on proving someone wrong. Focus on helping the team make a better decision. One respectful conversation at a time, you'll become a more confident communicator and a stronger leader. Thank you for learning with WorkSpeak. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Before you go, I have a quick challenge for you. First, hit the like button if you learned at least one new phrase today. Then, subscribe so you never miss a new business English lesson. Next, leave a comment using one of today's expressions. Don't worry if it's not perfect. The more you practice, the faster you'll improve. Finally, click the next video on your screen. It's the perfect next step to help you speak more naturally and more confidently in business situations. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.